All right, guys, today is race day. It's the first session or the first test session for the big race this weekend. So I'm entering the class, the Cub Fest, which is a 5-0 cap. And the big thing is that it is $10,000 to win. So as of right now, I think there is something like 34 cars entered, pre-entered for the race, and it's going to get pretty hectic. So again, today is just a test session. We're going to go out there and get the car set up, hopefully run some 5.0s and test functionality on like the bump button and the scramble button and boost control and all that stuff. Make sure everything works perfectly to ease our next day of racing, which will be the big race. So let's go to the track. Okay, so what you are about to see is the first pass of the test and tune session on Friday. Now, what you are seeing is the car sitting on the jack stands behind me, and you will soon see why it is like that. The first test and tune session did not go very well. In fact, it went terrible. The first pass, I go to bump the car in, and the bump's not working, which is odd. Because it's never failed before. And you'll see me let off the gas completely and just roll in and hit the trans brake again and deck the gas, and the car goes nowhere. Inside the car, it felt like it just blistered the tires. And I even backed up because I was going to try again. And if you listen to the video clip, you hear Chris say, "Oh boy." That's his way of saying it is getting ready to be time to do some work. So here we are at the track. Now we're getting ready to pull the transmission out. Oh boy. Okay, so now that we got the transmission fiasco behind us, I didn't film any of that because the amount of work at the track was just ridiculous, and it took a lot of things to get all those pieces together. So we had Chris and I, and pretty much everybody was already at the track. Brad hadn't made it there yet, so Brad went by Chris's house and picked up his transmission, which wasn't in the car, luckily, and it's the exact same thing I have. So we put Chris's transmission in my car, and it acts completely different than mine due to differences in the line pressure and the charge pressure, even though we still had my torque converter in it. So I had to take a stab at the boost controller and just see what it has. So keep in mind, this is a class, I'm sorry, not a class race, but a cap race. The cap being a 5.0, and Bob pretty easily runs 5.0s. So we go put a tune-up in there, and it's pig slow. I'm running against a bracket car, and I think it runs a 542 at like 120 something miles an hour. Nowhere near what I needed to be, but a decent baseline nonetheless. Okay, so for the second pass Friday night, I had cleaned up the tune-up just a little bit and shortened up the boost ramp just a little bit. And it worked good. It worked considerably better. It went a 517, 134 miles an hour, I think. So now we're taking steps in the right direction, and hopefully everything goes our way tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. Okay, so for Saturday morning, the track is a little better. The air is a little better. There's a cool breeze, and I
after walking the track, I feel like it's really sticky and things are going to go our way and all that stuff. So I put a little tiny bit of power in it, clean the fuel up, and we tighten the front end down and go up there to make the pass against the green Mustang, and it spins the tires like it is on ice. It just didn't even try to stick. And now I'm kind of scrambled because it went down the track last night and it really doesn't have a lot of power in it. So it should hook up on a really bad track, and it didn't. So that was kind of a little bit of a surprise, I guess you could say. So let's make some changes and go to the next run. So I've made some changes to the tune-up again after racing the Mustang, and go up there and I met with the same results. It just spins the tires like it's just, well, I mean, like it's on ice. It's just, that's all it feels like. There's nothing there when you let go of the trans brake. So you can't hear it in the video, but I'm cussing and spitting and banging inside the car, and I am just furious in there because I know that this should work. And in retrospect, in hindsight, if you will, think back in May when we ran the car and it did all those really good 60 foots and so on in one night. We had made some pretty drastic suspension changes in order for it to do that. Those suspension changes don't lend themselves very well to a moderate track condition, if you will. Or better yet, I can get by with a lot more travel and a lot looser front end than I could in the past, and we haven't had to test that yet. So to this point, it's starting to click, and I'm like, now I can loosen the front end, and it's not going to do crazy wheelies, but it was still in my mind that it would do those crazy wheelies, and I was apprehensive about loosening the front end. But going into first round of eliminations, I didn't have a choice. I had to put it back to what it went down the track with the night before. And my thought was, I can do a lot better pedaling a wheelie and a scramble button than I can if it spins the tires. Here comes the first round. Let's check it out. Okay, now you saw the first round video, and it is the polar opposite. It is 100% complete turnaround, and I did not change the tune-up. I didn't touch the boost. I didn't touch anything. All I did was loosen the front end, full loose on the limiters, and 5 from tight on the struts, and that's what worked the day before. And I keep thinking it's going to do wheelies, and like I just said before that clip, that we hadn't had the experience on a marginal track with the new rear suspension changes and how it reacts with the front suspension. So now it's starting to click, and I let go of the trans brake, and I never saw that guy. I could hear him. I could faintly hear him. You know, I know he's back there, you know, right on my back bumper. And, you know, I go through the lights, I get the wind light, and instead of cussing and spitting, now I'm hooting and hollering because I won the race. First round at least. So that was a good change. It went a 508, 133 miles an hour, I think. It's not setting the world on fire. It's not slow by any means, but it's not what Bob can normally do, which we had never really talked about. But nonetheless, it's time for round 2. Okay, so we go into round 2, and I'm really skeptical about making any changes to the tune-up because I don't want to fat finger it. I don't want to screw it up. I'm running 5.0s, and that's all it takes. But I have this one little problem that's looming overhead throughout these runs where the car comes up on boost and it gets to the rev limiter, and it essentially is leaning out, and the engine drops RPMs, and it comes back up, and then it drops RPMs, and it comes back up. And you'll see it rears its ugly head in this second round video. And it does it at the precise moment that I let go of the trans brake. And in the video, I don't think you can hear it very well. But when you're expecting the car to take off and set you back in the seat, and it kind of stumbles for a millisecond and then goes, it's a huge, big change that you know it's not good. And to top that all off, I had a terrible light. I think I had a 130 something light, which is not good. So we take off. The guy in the blue Mustang gets out ahead of me, and you know, the whole way down the track I'm thinking, man, I'm just beat. The dude breaks out. He beats himself. He was clearly ahead of me, and he should have let off the gas, and he didn't. So we win the second round. Okay, so now that we've won the second round and we're waiting around for the third round. This is 2 a.m. in the morning, by the way. This cold front just blows in out of nowhere, and it gets super, super windy across the track. We had a fair tailwind all day, and it wasn't unbearable, and it was a tailwind, so it wasn't really dangerous. But when it switched to a crosswind at this particular track, it gets dangerous because you clear the stands and the wind just comes straight across the track, and it's ugly. It's bad. That was only part of the problem. The other part of the problem was the fact that this wind, this change in direction, brought all kinds of dirt and trash and debris onto the track, and it made it dangerous. So they called the race. That was the end of the race. The good thing is that Bob made it to the money rounds. He got down to 9 cars out of 38, I believe is what the count was. It was a $10,000 pot, so they split the pot between the 9 cars, and Bob comes home with, $1,100 or so. All in all, it was a thrash fest. It was a busy weekend. I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was Bob's first outing in competition, I think. I don't think he's been in competition yet. It was good. It was really good. I'm pleased. Time to get his transmission fixed, give Chris his transmission back, and get everything wrapped up. We have another small problem to attend to, but I'll cover that in the next video, and we'll kind of go from there. Outside of that, thanks everybody for sticking around this long and watching the video. I really appreciate it. This was a big milestone in Bob's career, so we will continue on. If you haven't, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to check out the links below for all the products that we use on the channel. Thanks guys, we'll see you in the next video.